Tadparampariyaya vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om. Om Yogamaharishi Dr. Swami Gitananda Giri Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Om Puduvai Kalaimamani Puduvai Shakti Yogacharini Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata ki Jai. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaste, Swagatam, Vanakkam, Vandanam. Bonjour, buongiorno, buonasera, buonanotte. Kuyamore, Boreda, Kiyo Ora, Salamat Pagi. Ayubovan, Ayushman Baba, Subdinam, Suprapad, Salom. Welcome to our 99th Scintillating Saturdays, or Fabulous Fridays for those in North America. And yes, 99 weeks. And so many of you have been with me for all of the 99, or close to that. And what are we talking about today? Anahata Chakra. We have taken a look at Mooladhara, we have taken a look at Adhisthana, we have looked at Manipura, and now a chance to come into Anahata, the heart center. Anahata, the term itself is a beautiful term. Ahata means that which has a cause. Ahata means that which has a cause. Anahata, that which is without cause. What a beautiful concept our great rishis have given us, that, just because something exists, we don't have to think there's a cause behind it. There may not be a cause. What a beautiful principle to keep in life, because everybody is trying to find the cause of everything. And maybe sometimes there's just no cause. Maybe we are on one of those wild goose chases. Ahata means that which has a cause. And so we say that it is the sound that manifests because of a cause. So for example, I clap my hand. So when I clap my hand, what happens is that there is a sound produced. A sound produced because I clapped my hand. So if somebody asks you, why was that sound there? You say, because Dr. Ananda clapped his hand. Boo. You do something and a sound comes. So a sound that has a cause behind it. So it has been struck. There is a striking that leads to the production of a sound. Now here the concept, that is ahata. Here the concept is anahata. Ana meaning the opposite of it here. So it means a sound that is there, but nobody made it. There's a sound that is there, but nobody made it. And this is why the concept of the primordial sound, which in our culture we equate with the pranava. And that is why Maharishi Patanjali reminds us, Tasya Vachakaha Pranavaha, that pranava, which is the essential vibration of Ishvara itself, of pure consciousness. So it exists without cause. It is said that there can be an Adi, that is the origin, and there can be Anta. Anta means the end. But when we talk about the divinity and the universality, we say Anadi, without a beginning, and Ananta, without an end. There is eternity there. So eternity has no beginning and no end. It's like infinity. Where does it begin? Where does it end? That is the concept our rishis have given us when they talk about Anahata. And now that Anahata is the heart center, Anahata Chakra. So a center where we are able to tap into the primordial vibration of the cosmos itself. Tapping into the primordial vibration of the cosmos itself when we open our heart. When we open our heart to the universe, we can tap into that. It is like you have to put your Bluetooth on. You have to put your Wi-Fi on, your hotspot on. That is what you have to do. When you are working with the Anahata Chakra, it's like you're putting your Bluetooth on so you can connect to the universe. Now most people, they don't put it on and then they say, oh, I feel disconnected. Why do you feel disconnected? Well, your Bluetooth is off. Your Wi-Fi is off. Your hotspot is off. And that is why when we work on the Anahata Chakra, the Anahata Chakra enables us to regain the lost connection with that universal eternity. And that is why it is called Anahata. Now when you think about this center, it's a very beautiful center because it's related to the number 4. The number 4 is a number of stability. And this is where you find that the number 4 comes back again and again because the heart, the physical heart, has 4 chambers. The 2 atria, 2 ventricles. So 4 chambers of the heart. You will find that each of those, between the atria and ventricles, there are the AV valves, the mitral and tricuspid valves. And then where the aorta and the pulmonary go out, you have pulmonary valves and aortic valves. So 4 major valves. So you have the 4 chambers, the 4 valves. The pulmonary veins have 4. It's very beautiful how this number 4 keeps coming back again and again when you think of the heart, even at the physical level, the physical heart. Now, this Anahata is a chakra where we are to open up and have the sense of companionship. We are to have a sense of companionship, relationship. So it is very much related to our seeking, attaining, maintaining, regaining relationships and companionship, where you want to have a heart-to-heart connection with people, not wallet to wallet, not pelvis to pelvis, not head to head, heart to heart. It is a heart-to-heart connection that you want to have with people because we realize that through that heartful connection, we are connecting to something which is eternal. Anahata. The rest of it is temporary, transient. But at the heart level, you connect to each other for eternity. It is an eternal companionship, relationship. And this is why this center, it is essential that we connect ourselves here, because most of the time today, we have become people who think a lot, or think that we think a lot, or we react a lot, or we become a bundle of emotions. But actual heartfulness is absent in so many of us today. How many of us can have a heart-to-heart conversation with anybody? It's all about, what will you give me if I am with you, and what will you get if I am with you, and blah, blah, blah. And all our conversations are based on something else. This is why this is the center of giving. Because the more you give to a relationship, the more that relationship will grow and glow. If relationships are based on what you get out of it, forget about that relationship. But if you can give, it will always grow and glow. Because relationships must be built on giving. And this is where opening up the heart center is the way that we connect to that universal divinity. that divinity which is there within each and every one of us. The Anahata is often related to the cardiac plexus, a group of nerves around the heart at this region. And when those nerves are working well, what happens is that there's a beautiful synchronous relationship between your heart and your breathing. So your cardiac function, the way your heart beats, love-dub, 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 love you, love-dub, love-dub. The way your heart is beating and the way you breathe in, hamsa soham, hamsa soham, hamsa soham. That way you are breathing, the hamsa soham, love-dub, hamsa soham, hamsa soham. Or you keep it as hum-sa, 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 love-du, love-du, hum-sa, hum-sa, love-du. And you relate the breathing with the way the heart is beating. This is a very important aspect of us as a human being, where the cardio-respiratory coupling. There has to be a coupling. Couple means relationship, companionship. There's a coupling of the way your heart functions and the way you breathe. And this is based on the autonomic patterns. And when this is healthy, you are healthy. But most of us have become so disconnected with everybody around us that we are even disconnected within us, mind-body disconnect, and heart-lung disconnect, gut-brain disconnect, everything disconnect. And what has happened is that your heart and your breathing are not in sync anymore. This is why the practice of pranayama. The practice of pranayama is a beautiful way to deal with the coupling, the relinking, the restoration of this cardio-respiratory coupling. How do you restore it? Pranayama. And practices like pranayama, they are amazing because they really enhance what is called sinus arrhythmia. Remember I said Anahata Nada, Pranava? When you start to practice the Pranava, what happens? You are connecting to the universe. Your lungs and your heart are connecting together. And this is why then that heartfulness can manifest in your life. You can start to have a sense of open-heartedness. You start to live in a heartful manner rather than a heartless manner. So many of us have become heartless. This center is related to the thymus gland. The thymus gland is related to your immune function, T cell, cellular immunity. T cell immunity. So important that the T cell immunity is there because this is your cellular immunity and your immune cells get matured in the thymus, so they are called T cells. And the thymus is related to the sense of youthfulness. And that youthfulness is what the heart center is all about. Feeling young at heart. So no prizes for guessing. No prizes for guessing. What is the Bija mantra? Young, as in young at heart. To be young at heart. That is where you need to connect to the Anahata. The thymus is very much related to, our immune function, and it normally is very active in our youthful state. And then once we come into the puberty and post-puberty, it starts to atrophy. So most of us adults, it's an atrophied tissue. This is related to the sense of reproduction as a karmendriya. As a karmendriya, the sense of reproduction, upastha, is related to the heart center. And this is why, in order for the Anahata to function properly, we need to understand the difference between love and lust. Because that is the difference that enables us to regain that youthfulness. When we can go in and connect and understand what love truly means. Swamiji has explained love as profound interest. When you are profoundly interested in someone or something, a state where you lose yourself into that state of profound interestness, a state of flow, that is a state of love. It becomes a timeless state, in fact. When we start to become sexually active, what often happens is that the procreative instincts start to come in and the love responses go down. And this is why the way the modern human being looks at love and making love has become such a degraded manner that there's no way the heartfulness will be there at all. And this is why it is so important that we realize there can be love without lust. And it is very important. Because lust blocks love. But love can be there without lust, and it can also satisfy the lust in a righteous manner. That is where righteousness comes in again and again here. The Anahata center is also related to the concept of sound. That primordial sound, you remember we said pranava? Where does that heartbeat? Labdup, labdup, labdup. And again your lungs. Hamsa, hamsa, hamsa. And Gurulin, this doesn't have to only be one pranayama pattern. Every inhalation has the sa, every exhalation has the hum. So it's a matter of working with the breath in a mindful manner rather than any specific pranayama here. When we are connecting to the Anahata, we start to connect to the sense of sparsha. Sparsha, which means touch. And this is why the concept of touch, touching and being touched, is intrinsically linked to the heart center. And that is why when somebody does something very nice, you say, I feel really deeply touched by that gesture. You feel touched because it went to your heart. That sense of touch and that sense of heartfulness, they are deeply connected. And this is connected to the wind element, Bayou. Because as the wind, as I sit up here on our roof, and there's a beautiful breeze, even as I speak, the breeze has become a bit more, it's responding to me. There's a beautiful sense of the wind just caressing all the hair on my skin, lot of hair. Be hairy guys. You know, the sense of that beautiful wind just giving that loving caress. And you know, the whole concept of the touch of a loved one. The touch of a loved one. Why do people hold hands? Why do people want the touch? Because that touch sensation is very deeply intrinsic to this. Interestingly, when we work on the Vibhaga Pranayama, we use the Sparsha Mudras so that we start to actually reconnect with ourselves by touching ourselves in an appropriate, righteous, loving manner. And what a beautiful sense of reconnecting with different parts of our lungs. Again, that lungs, because the pranavayu called prana is in this region. So that pranavayu called prana is in this region. You have that beautiful sense of the Anahata Chakra. You have the cardiorespiratory coupling, all of this. And on top of that, you have the SA node, your pacemaker of your heart. It's making the pace. It's determining the pace at which your heart beats. And in your right atrium, there is a small node, the SA node. Its nervous tissue that has the capacity for spontaneous generation of impulse. Spontaneous generation of impulse. And this spontaneous generation of impulse from the SA node is then carried down by the conducting fibers to the AV node, atrioventricular node, the Purkinje fibers, the bundle of His, so that your heart will have a normal rhythm from the atria to the ventricles, so that the blood from the atria is going to the ventricles, pumped out, from atria to ventricles, pumped out, atria to ventricles, pumped out. So there's this beautiful flow happening, a beautiful flow of energy happening, and that is governed by your SA node, the pacemaker. A few words here. Spontaneous generation of impulse. Okay? Now, impulses are normally generated when there is a stimulus. You see something, your eyes get activated, and you know that stimulus receptor, and you see it. Stimulus receptor, you hear it. Stimulus receptor, you feel it. Stimulus receptor, you taste it. Stimulus receptor, you smell it. All of this is happening. A stimulus is causing a response by connecting stimulus receptor. They come together and there is a response. So most of our impulses are created because of a stimulus. So there is a stimulus. But at the SA node, there is no stimulus. It's a spontaneous generation. Now let's get back to what I talked about, Ahata, Anahata. Ahata means there's a cause, which means there's a stimulus. Anahata means causeless, without stimulus, spontaneous. And this is why our great rishis, oh my God, they were the pure scientists. When they talked about Ahata, Anahata, they are talking about stimulus response, which is the normal type, Ahata, and then the Anahata, which is your SA node, the tissue in your heart, which will spontaneously generate an impulse, approximately 0.8 seconds, if your heart is beating at 75. So every 0.8 seconds, that's less than a second, 800 milliseconds, there is an impulse generated if your heart is beating at 75. Now, this would be a normal sinus rhythm. But then what can happen? It can be influenced by other factors. For example, if you are afraid, your heart starts to go faster. That's not the SA node. The SA node is normally giving its normal rhythm. Fear is creating sympathetic arousal and changing it. Okay, so what happens is that there can be other factors that will influence your body temperature. If your body temperature goes up, your heart rate goes up. Now that is because there is an extra additional factor. But the baseline is the fact from a couple of weeks into your intrauterine life, this heart starts to beat, the fetal heart starts to beat, and it continues till the last beat you have in your life. Without stop, without vacation. Wow. Selfless service. Thy name is SA node. No wonder this is the karma yogi. It is the karma yogi who does the job whether they are recognized or not. Do you ever thank your SA node? Thank you for keeping me alive? Hell no. Sorry. But no. Huh? The only time we think about it is when there's a bit of palpitation. That's the only time we think about it. When it is defective. When it is functioning, it is the karma yogi. And that is why Anahata Chakra is all about karma yoga. Karma yoga. Nishkama karma. Seva. That is the yoga marga for those who are the four birth path. Because the Anahata is driving them to fulfill themselves through giving of themselves for the sake of the greater good. The SA node. What a beautiful concept that it will just keep on generating impulse, and keep on doing what it needs to do. Swamiji used to say, this is the Guru Hridaya Manas. He said, inside the Anahata, there is the Guru Hridaya Manas. Now sometimes you find people talk about a Hrit Chakra as having 8 petals. And whether this is related to what Swamiji has talked about, Guru Hridaya Manas, the Guru spirit that is within our heart, the mindful heart. Hridaya Manas, the mindful heart, within that the spirit of the Guru, which is guiding us constantly whether we are listening or not. The SA node is guiding us whether we listen or not, and the more we listen to it, well, the better things are. But often they say that this is a separate center. Swamiji never really talked about it as a separate center. So it is possible that within this chakra there is another energy flow, because this energy is an energy of guidance, an energy of balance, trying to keep balance, trying to keep harmony and normalcy in the face of all situations. So when we talk about the Anahata itself, we find this center which is normally connected to the wind element, so it has the Bayou Mandala, which is a blue hexagon, or rather 2 interlaced triangles, so a 6-pointed star, smoky blue, is how they used to define it. I tried to keep that color. I don't know if this color comes through, but anyway. A smoky blue type of color is what Swamiji used to talk about. Normally we have a dark blue color that comes in, but it's termed smoky blue. And these 2 interlaced triangles are actually made of the triangle that we talked about when we talked about the Manipura, and another triangle that is made here, which is the Vayu Mandala. So last week we saw that the inverted downward pointing triangle, red triangle, was for Manipura, and the Tejas Mandala when we come to the Vayu Mandala Pranayama for here, what we have is we have an upward pointing triangle that goes between the right and left nipples and the pit of the throat here. Okay, so here to here and here. And here what happens is that you would have the inhalation. So the inhalation goes from the right, okay, inhalation right to the pit of the throat, exhalation from the pit of the throat to the left nipple, and left nipple to right nipple is the held out breath. So in, out, held out, which is called the Viloma Pranayama. So last time we did the Loma Pranayama for the Tejo Mandala Pranayama. Here is the Viloma Pranayama, which is for the Vayu Mandala Pranayama. And so the shape being created by the breath is an upward pointing triangle. Right nipple, remember clockwise, and you are the clock, okay? You're not looking at a clock, you are the clock. So your right nipple to the pit of the throat, inhalation, pit of the throat to the left nipple, exhalation, and from the left nipple to the right nipple, the abstention or the held out breath. This is a pattern, the Viloma Pranayama. And doing this pranayama, what you are doing is that you are actually now working on what you previously have done, the Tejas Mandala Pranayama. And so the 2 triangles come together, and the shape here becomes a shape of 2 interlaced triangles. One triangle going upward, one triangle coming down. You know very well, in so many cultures, the downward pointing triangle is female, the upward pointing triangle is masculine, and so the coming together of the male-female energies are very much part of this. Remember, we talked about Upastha, the coming together for the sense of reproduction, relationship, companionship, all of that is here. And this is why when we work on this, what we are doing is the Vayu Mandala Pranayama. But we are creating the mandala shape of a 6-pointed star. You don't try to breathe like a 6-pointed star. You only are breathing like an upward pointing triangle. But it's building on what has been done previously. Swamiji has suggested asanas that are the twisting postures. So Vakrasana, all the spinal twists are the ones that he has suggested for opening up the heart center. Now I often think about it, it's like, you are twisting yourself so that, you can build relationships. And what a beautiful twist you can create. All the twists we do. I remember when we were doing the yoga step by step online, Team 52, and Shrikant was the first one to give his attendance today. He was the first one who came up on my screen when I started. Usually it's Dr. Ramareddy sir, but today it was Shrikant. Shrikant did a beautiful Garuda Asana, and what we realized is it is like the interrelationship, the entwining of the DNA, double-stranded DNA helix, which is again based on the energy patterns of the Ida Pingala. So again, when you are doing these twisting postures where the whole upper part of the spine is twisted in Vakrasana or the Ardha Matsyendrasana and all of these asanas, what you are doing is that you are creating again that energy of relationship building. Like the double-stranded DNA helix getting a relationship between the strands, relationship between Ida Pingala, relationship between man and woman, relationship between day and night, relationship between the opposites. Again, if you think about it, even your heart, 4 chambers I said, you can divide those into the right and left heart. So the right heart, what is it doing? The right heart is getting all the deoxygenated, they call it impure, deoxygenated blood, okay, through the atrium. It goes to the ventricles. So the right heart is dealing with the deoxygenated impure blood. Then the blood has been pumped to the lungs. It comes back from the lungs and is pumped to the rest of the body. So you are dealing with the oxygenated blood or the pure blood. So even here, you divide your heart into the right and left heart. Right heart dealing with deoxygenated, left heart dealing with oxygenated. There's a relationship between the deoxygenated and the oxygenated, the blue blood and the red blood, and you are creating a relationship building by having them twist together. They're dancing together in twisting. All of these come together. Nowadays you find a lot of people, you do a back bending asana and your anahata is activated. Just because you open your chest. See, it is not so simple. The asana pranayamas for the chakras are not just based on what they look like. It is an intrinsic connection that will be there that has to be understood. Again, Guru Shishya Parampara. But what people think is, I heard that any back bending will be good for your chakra, for your Anahata Chakra, so do Chakrasana. And then, you can do Chakrasana in a chair and you can do it over a pillow and you can have somebody under you and you can do the chakra. Back bending is good. I'll do Dhanurasana. And so they say, the Dhanurasana is also a back bending, opens the chest. Ushtrasana also does it. All these are good. See, this is all just, people just start creating. You have to realize all of these teachings have to be based on an energy. When you twist, you are creating that beautiful relationship, which is what the Anahata is all about. And the Bija mantra, yang, yang, yang. So when it's slow, it is more like a yang. And then when it becomes faster, yang, 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 like young, add heart, young, add heart. It's that young, youthfulness of heart. That is what you want to generate. And the 12 petals here. The 12 petals. Kang kahang, gang gahang, ang chang chahang, jang jahang, yang, tang tahang. The full ka and the cha. And then the last 2, the ta. Kang kahang, gang gahang, ang chang chahang, jang jahang, yang, tang tahang. The 12 petals as if they are the 12 points on a clock. Very easy here. 12 is much easier because you just have each at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's easy. And always remember, the energies are going clockwise around your spine. The spine is the central axis. They're not pasted on you like a t-shirt. That's nice for t-shirts. But it's not, the chakras are not pasted on your front or back. They are moving around that central axis. Merudanda, Brahmadanda. And as you open up this center, you start to connect to that Anahata, that eternal vibration. Your relationships start to become, much more stable. Remember the 4? Because what has happened is the volatility is taken out. The getting part is taken out, and then the giving part is there. And the more you give to a relationship, the more that relationship will flourish. Now, I remember Swamiji used to love his song. And I believe this song was also part of the self-realization fellowship of Swami Yogananda. And Swamiji had a modified version, which then I took in for my album where I sang South Indian classical music with English lyrics. It was a good experiment about 22 years ago. And he used to talk about, in the chamber of my heart, I keep a shrine for thee. In the chamber of my heart, I keep a shrine for thee. Will thou come, Lord? Will thou come? Will thou come just for me? Will thou come, Lord? Will thou come? Will thou come just for me? Devotees may come, oh my Lord. Devotees may go, oh my Lord. Devotees may come, oh my Lord. Devotees may go, oh my Lord. Devotees may come, oh my Lord. Devotees may come, devotees may go, devotees may come, devotees may go, still I will be thine, O Lord. Devotees may come, devotees may go, still I will be thine, O Lord. Devotees may come, O my Lord. In the chamber of my heart, I keep a shrine for thee. Will thou come, Lord? Will thou come? In the chamber of my heart, I keep a shrine for thee. What a beautiful concept. A chamber of my heart, I keep a shrine. Will thou come, Lord? Will thou come? Will thou come just for me? Will thou come just for me? Will thou come just for me? Devotees may come, oh my Lord. A beautiful composition. I remember Swamiji singing this, and when I decided to do this album, Yoga of Sound, I was like, this had to be one of the songs which was there, because just such an aspect. You have to open your heart up. This is the Bhakti Yoga Marga also, where you open your heart up, you connect, because every relationship should be based on heartful connection. I think if we really work on this, if we worked on putting our heart into every relationship, we would value each other as human beings, not for what we can get from somebody. Transactional relationships are the norm today. I will love you if you love me. I will do this for you if you do that for me. It's all give and take. It's transactional. It should not be transactional. It has to be heart-to-heart connection. That is what the Anahata teaches us, because when we start to connect to that heart center, we will be guided by what feels right. What feels right. And that is why we often say, touch your heart and your conscience. Touch your heart and your conscience and think whether what you're doing is right or wrong. When we do our Nada Bhavana Shuddhi Kriya, we do this ho, 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 ho here. To let go of all these emotional stresses that are there, relationship stresses that are there. Because we are all holding tight. Remember, real love should be freedom. If your love is limiting somebody through possessiveness, it's not love. Possessiveness is not love. These days, people think that I love you so much, I'm going to put you in a cage and keep you. That's not love, that's possessiveness. It's a very different feeling. Real love is freedom. Real love is nurturing. Real love is opening your heart up. Now, yes, in the modern world, you'll get hurt, no doubt about it. But then, you have to do it because it's the right thing to do. If you try to be a noble human being, you're going to get crushed in this world today. But for the fear of that, if you stop being a noble human being, then what's the use of being human at all? The more we connect to this center, the more human we can be, and we can actually start to develop the humane qualities, because we start to have a higher aspect. When you look at the first three chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, they are very much about a drive. There's a lot of drive there. But at the Anahata, you have a chance to change that. You can go into a new type of dimension. And that is why it is very important to open up. Because Mooladhara, Swadhisthana energy is like the first three are the first base. But then here, the next three are where you have a chance to actually develop a higher aspect within the six. Not that one chakra is better than the other. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is this is all part of that evolutionary growth, evolutionary journey. And when we can actually bring out those noble qualities of the Anahata, we will have compassion. We'll have empathy. We'll have a heart-to-heart connection. We'll have the desire to serve. We'll have the desire to care, and we'll have the capacity to love unconditionally. Just like that SA node is doing its job unconditionally, just like it is doing it without expectation of reward or even a thank you note. It is doing it because that is what is to be done. Do it for the sake of doing it. That is the message the Anahata is giving us. Have a wonderful weekend wherever you are. We'll meet again next week for the 100th Scintillating Saturdays, and we'll keep it going because we are into June, and June is the month of the Yoga Day, International Day of Yoga, so lot of activities around the world going on, including activities at Pondicherry. So do join us either in person or online, because I personally value each and everyone, and all of you know it, because this parampara values each and every one of its members, each and every one of the family, because it's about companionship, it's about relationship, it's about walking that path all together. Because when we come together, the journey is always much nicer, it seems much easier. And just having you all with me on the journey means so much. Dhanyavadaha, thank you for being with me. Nandri, Vanakkam.